Hi everyone, it's Katie, and today I just wanted to share with you a deck that I bought last month that I am in love with. It is the Stella Tarot. It is directed or authored by Stella Kaoruko and painted by Takako Hoei. I'm sorry, I've butchered those names. It's a Japanese deck. It's classic 78 card tarot deck. A few changes, but for the most it sticks pretty close to the rider-waite. So I thought I'd just talk a little bit about my initial experience and reaction with the deck. I did the deck interview spread that you see online when I first got it. It was very apparent from that interview, and it has been confirmed with my subsequent use of the deck, that this is a very blunt deck. What I really got from it is that it's quite a masculine deck in terms of its approach and its messages, and that it is very blunt, it is very upfront, almost to the point where it's funny. So it comes with a little white book. It's actually a pretty decent little white book, I think. It's only about 30 pages, but you know, you get an upright meaning and a reverse meaning of each of the cards, and you get a decent amount of information. The card stock, the card size, all of that is very typical, just general, you know, it comes in the cardboard box, so it's what you expect when you get a $20 deck. I do quite like the backing. I think it's quite pretty. It's like a really soft blue with like a creamy yellow sort of pattern happening. I'm not usually someone bothered by borders. I actually sometimes quite like them. But this one is too big. It's quite obnoxious. It's got the big copyright, which again is something that doesn't usually bother me, but I just feel like this border does take away from the overall experience of using the cards. I really don't know what you call this type of artwork. It almost looks like the sort of art you did in primary school, where you would create characters and things out of craft paper. And it's interesting in the way that it's done. It's all kind of proportionately exaggerated, like the bodies are bigger, the heads are smaller. It's got a very distinct artistic style. It's also very bold in its colour usage. There's a lot of reds and blues. And also quite a few very pink cards. Justice and Strength are reversed from the rider-waite order. So Justice is 8 and Strength is renamed Miracle and is number 11. The Devil is an interesting card for me. I have seen other Devil cards that are much more in your face scary, but this one to me is very reserved but creepy. I hope I can get a good enough image of it for you. But that Devil just creeps me out. I think he's really cool. The Empress is one of the really pink, pretty cards. These cards are very people-based. This is the Tower. Very people-based, and I feel like they're very much telling a narrative. They've very much got a story, and it's very much around the character. The Court is pretty much all renamed, although the new name for the King actually stumped me a little bit. The King is renamed the Knight. So this is the Knight of Wands, or the King of Wands. The Queen remains the Queen, although Pentacles are renamed Discs. So this is the Queen of Discs. The Knight is renamed the Prince. This is the Prince of Cups. And the Page is renamed the Princess. This is the Princess of Swords. So this deck is very much rider-waite based. The court cards are a bit different, and there are some of the minor arcana that is a little bit different as well. But for the most part, the imagery does mirror the rider-waite. The cards that do generally have a very similar meaning to the traditional cards. They're just kind of a different angle to look at them through. Some of those cards include the Two of Wands. This one kind of looks like a bit of a housekeeper to me. The Five of Cups I find really interesting. He's tipping out his own cups rather than kind of just being upset about the cups that are tipped out. The Seven of Discs, I find this one interesting too. But then there are ones that are almost identical, at least in large part, to the traditional rider-waite. One would be the Four of Discs. Very similar, or the same sort of imagery there. Ace of Cups. I really like this ace. I think it's really pretty. The Eight of Swords, you know, that same sort of imagery there. and it's the same with the Two of Swords. So I find this deck to be very accurate, but very blunt. To me, it is a very practical deck. It's very ready to tell you exactly what's going on and why, rather than kind of delving into how you think and feel about it. You know, some decks really speak to the spiritual and the emotional, whereas this deck has been kind of, this is what's going on and this is what you need to do, which I'm loving. I guess it is a very masculine approach, this deck. I mean, it's not overtly masculine. It's just a little bit less of that loving, nurturing vibe and a little bit more of the action vibe. This is a fiery, wandsy sort of deck to me. The art is simple enough for me. I get overwhelmed very quickly with decks like the Paulina decks and the Shadowscapes. Whilst I think they're beautiful, at least at the moment, they're just not for me. There's too much happening. I get overwhelmed by all of that sensory input. Whereas this, the symbolism and the messages are very clear and they're very blunt and they're just straightforward, but there's still enough there and there's enough colour and depth to the images that it enables the intuition to come through as well. As far as the art is concerned, I really do think quirky is the right word. Now, quirky has kind of been overused, but also come to mean really quite unique, I think, sometimes. And I don't think that this deck is so far out that it's a new world, but it is different enough to make it strange in a really, really fun way. And to me, that's what quirky means. And I think that would be a good word to describe the art in this deck. But as for its reading, the way that it reads, it's very straightforward, very blunt, very matter of fact. And that combination of quirky and matter of fact, I just think it's really playful. It's really fun. And I love working with this deck. It's not an effort. Some decks do require effort and time, and those are beautiful experiences. But this deck doesn't. This deck is, it doesn't require you to take it out to dinner. It's just happy to get straight to business. This deck has just walked in with almost this air of cheeky arrogance. This deck has a lot of personality to me and it's very talkative. And I just am so happy that I stumbled across it. Like, it doesn't have any rave reviews that I've seen. It's not, you know, a favorite on Eclectic Tarot, but you know, I find that so interesting that, I mean, sure, I find the artwork pretty, it's appealing, but it's not the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And yet, this is probably the most fun I've ever had with the deck. So that's kind of my part review, part chit chat about my experience with Stella's Tarot. If you have any questions or if I missed anything out, let me know below and I'll get back to you. And I will talk to you all again soon. Much love. Bye.